So I was thinking about this as the countdown was going on. I'm going to come out and I'm going to go, I am Keith Johnston with Planner Wire. We have Bob Tuvey with Event Planner News and Stuart Mitchell of Catch the Mice. And this is a bullet list special report. The Queen is dead.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and today we were supposed to be talking with the Coventry Building Society Arena, which Stuart is there now, and you can hear the sound checks going on behind him. But given what was going on yesterday in the UK, we thought we would talk about the funeral because it was an amazing spectacle and it was also a massive event.
Absolutely. Can you imagine the logistics that went behind just actually not even just making it happen in front of people, but getting everybody in the right places at the right time? Just how do you do that? That's amazing stuff.
I've got to say, God save the king.
Yes, there you go. And 10 years of planning. Now they have been planning for this for 10 years. However, when you finally hit the go button on something that large, to execute it in that short amount of time is just my hats are off to them. I think that they did an amazing job. But again, the logistics for that are just unreal. So
just to cover a couple of stats, the amount of people who walked past the Queen lying in state was 250,000 people.
That was just in London.
That was just in London.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And the procession with the coffin was 1.25 miles long. Again, how do you organize and make sure everybody's in the right place at the right time?
I think obviously the army are drilled with it, and the forces in general are drilled with an inch of their life on that one. The number of public that's going to be there, the additional logistics of putting on extra trains to get the public into London so that they can see it all, the logistics of bringing the world's press, the media, the good and the great into one place, and then the security operation. I think it was phenomenal. I think it was just a spectacle that was delivered brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, and how many realms remain? Right, 14, I think.
What, in the Commonwealth?
Yeah.
There's a lot more than that. But I don't know how many. Bob, you're the statistician.
But I mean,
I'm looking.
For example, if you look at leading the procession yesterday, you had the Canadian Mounties, right? Mm-hmm. That meant you had to get those Mounties and their horses all the way over to the UK that fast. You had to get people from Australia, and again, a lot of these people, not all of them are going to be on government sponsored planes, like President Biden or, Trudeau or whoever it is. So a lot of these folks had to fly commercial, and we all know how air travel has been lately.
Yeah.
And all the accommodation that goes with it, and all their entourage, it's all their security entourage that come with them. Yeah. Phenomenal.
As regards to stats, 56 independent countries make up the Commonwealth in Africa, Asia, the Americas, Europe, and the Pacific. 2.5 billion citizens live in the Commonwealth.
Wow.
There you go.
I did not know that.
And that's from the commonwealth.org. So it's official information.
Yeah. And, so let's talk about the stress in that, right? Event planning, they tell you every year on those end of year reports on the most stressful jobs in the world, and event planning usually comes in at about 4 or 5. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry. It's not quite the same.
Sorry about the sound check going on in the background.
Hey, we're all in the events industry. We get it.
Can't even turn you around. I'm sorry. Anyway, just stopped. It's fine. Carry on talking. If this gets too loud, I'll mute myself.
But they talk about how stressful that is. But given what happened yesterday, right? I understand the stress in this one because granted, everyone has to be on prim and proper and perfect for the monarchy, but there was a global audience of probably like everyone I know here in the States watched at least part of it. So you have to be talking a global audience of billions that were watching yesterday. And with the exception of a couple little things here and there, it went off pretty flawlessly.
I have to say it raised the issue of the BBC as our British broadcaster, rather than some of the other independents, the Netflix, the Amazons of this world. What the power of having a British supported broadcast network was, because that went out seamlessly. And I know that they would have been planning that for years and have had fillers and have had people that they wanted to interview. But the camera angles in the Abbey were absolutely amazing. I don't know if you saw the one where it was literally above the coffin, which panned down from the roof with zoom and tilt and twist to it. It was phenomenal.
Well, and so then you get into the cost, right? Now, I'm sure some of that
really clever.
Yeah. Well, and there was drone footage, and there was when they got to Windsor Castle, they had the shot that was up on top that showed the procession coming down. I mean, just getting that all of that in place in that short amount of time. I mean, again, hats off to them because it was staggering. And then the security effort.
To have the world's good and the great, every leader in that abbey. Just imagine the cordon there for security. And also not so much physically having them in that environment, getting them to that environment. Which hotels are they going to come from? How are they going to arrive? How are they going to get within the iron fortress of that?
Yeah. Well, and I know that the Japanese prime minister, they were just talking about certain world leaders where they had to actually suck it up and ride a bus, right? Because you have to, you've got to get them in there. And you can't have, with all of those dignitaries, could you imagine if they all came in their own limo? A, London would run out of limos, and B, it would have been a procession miles and miles long. So you do have to put them on a bus.
There was a lovely shot when Boris was coming in, and he was early, and he was stopped at the front door, and rather than actually allowed in, he was moved to the side, and other attendees were given access before him. I thought it was rather funny. Yes, no, you've got to wait in line. You've actually come early. There is a pecking order here, and you are no longer.
No longer top dog. You go in the back and wait like everybody else. That's cool.
That is. So, what do we think the hardest challenge was?
No, it was. It was really cool. Sorry, Keith, carry on.
Oh no, your audio sometimes, you're on convention center audio or Wi-Fi, so every once in a while you fall about 3 seconds. So no, my question was, what do we think that the biggest challenge was? Because
I think the timing would have been relatively easy. I think the timing and the scheduling would have been really, really easy. It's just planning for those unknowns, whether there is I don't know, whether the wheel falls off, whether something a car breaks down or something like that, or someone is late, or there is a reason for the service to stop for any particular reason. I wonder what the contingency would have been. I think.
Yeah, plan B, plan C, plan D. There would have been layers of planning.
Because they'd have fillers and they'd have had things they could have cut to. But I think that was just getting people in the right place at the right time would have been, I think, the challenge.
I'm going to go with confirming who's coming, how big is their entourage. Then you've got to figure out where everybody sits, right? So if you look at the Prime Minister of Japan, okay, we know where he's going to sit. That's easy. He's one, but where does his entourage go? Do they stay outside? Do they come in? How do you give access? That is a guest list I would not want to manage.
Well, if you want a proper challenge, I mean, right. So the procession was more than 1.25 miles, according to Google on here. And can you imagine what it must have taken to say, right, you're at the front, you're going to be the next, and then there's going to be the coffin, and then all the people behind. Everybody had to be standing in the right place before the procession even moved off. So I see the greatest challenge is, how do you get everybody to be moved to be in the right place within the procession? The logistics of that alone must be really impressive.
So every year I work on, here in Chicago, on our Thanksgiving, it's the Magnificent Mile Lights Parade. And it's a parade, and Mickey, it's a Disney thing, and they go down Michigan Avenue here in Chicago, and he waves his wand, and all the lights come on for the Christmas lights. That is nowhere near what happened yesterday. And that, just the logistics on that are a challenge of getting all the floats and making sure that everyone is in the right order and things like that. And, you're dealing with city streets. And so you've got to, shove things in alleys. And so, hats off to them for doing, for quite a spectacular.
I'm a royalist. I don't mind admitting it. I think the royal family do an amazing job, and I believe that they bring a huge amount of PR and publicity and revenue comes in as a result of it. However, I dread to think how much yesterday cost. I know that it will come back in bucket loads, in multifold, but the cost of putting on an event like that is astronomical. And I wondered if they do or did have a budget, and how they would have managed that, because that would be one heck of an event to put on in terms of budget. And there certainly isn't any sponsorship.
Well, no, and you might have a budget, but how, that budget could go out the window, right? Depending on, because you can't have it not be what it was. And if you find out something is an extra $1 or $2 million, it's just got to be an extra $1 or $2 million. It's not like you're going to leave a camera. Oh, we can't have that camera because, you've got to have the camera.
Well, again, quick search on Google. So in 2002, the funeral of the Queen's mother was reportedly cost 5.4 million GBP pounds. So I can only imagine that to put on the Queen Elizabeth II's funeral must have been twice, 3, 4 times that.
4 times, I would have thought. But I think,
I'm going to go with 50 times.
I think you're probably right, Keith. I think it's going to be, quite frankly, serious money. But to get a global audience of, I think it was 2.5 billion. I heard something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's you can't pay for that advertising about Britain being just Great Britain. I think it will. A lot of people will want to come to Britain to go and see a lot of those places.
Again, sad. She had a wonderful life, so we can be sad, but whatever. But I think you're right. I think that events like this, especially when they go off smoothly, are and you hate to say it because it was a funeral, but the marketing, you cannot underestimate what yesterday was.
It puts us on the global stage. It shows what a great nation we are, and I think it's a very sad day for the nation. I think she'll be sorely missed, but I think what she had planned for that exit or that transition to the next
Stuart
next king was spoken to people who were involved with the service and actually attended as part of the forces, and what an honor to do it. What an honor to be involved in that. That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming up 15 minutes. Any final thoughts on the funeral yesterday? And then we'll just talk really briefly about next week when we actually come into the Coventry Building Society Arena. But final thoughts on the funeral.
I am looking forward to the coronation. I am looking forward to the nation celebrating having had a period of an extended period of mourning. I'm looking forward to the nation celebrating and seeing something similar, not quite as grand, for the coronation. I don't know when that will be.
I've heard estimates of next year for the coronation, and I think it's going to probably going to take a while to put the planning in place to do that spectacularly. If you think about it, the last time we had a change of monarch was 70 years ago. So I think people have been digging out old books and dusting them off and looking up documents to see what happened before, so the tradition can continue. So yeah, it's going to be spectacular. I think I'm sure no one person organised yesterday. So whatever team has actually put everything in place have done a spectacular job.
Yeah.
There was one thing. I believe the Duke of Norfolk, it's a hereditary role that is in charge of the overall planning, and he liaises with the Queen or the monarch.
Stuart froze again.
Just in case when that happened, the hierarchy of the monarch that organises that on a hereditary basis.
Well, my final thought is hats off to everybody that was involved in planning yesterday. From over here in the States, it looked absolutely flawless. There wasn't anything on TV that wasn't meant to be. And so, again, you don't want to give, I guess congratulations is a funny word because it's a funeral, but it was well done. Yes, and then next week, we will be on with Jennie Ford, and we will be talking about the Coventry Builders Association Arena. Stuart is there now.
Yeah, look at that massive pitch.
Yeah,
so that's the thing. The Coventry Arena is actually home to the Coventry City Football Club, I believe.
That's correct. That's correct. So rugby and football here,
yes,
as well as conferences and events.
Yes, and conferences up to groups of 7,000. There's a DoubleTree on site. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. So we will actually talk about that next week. But Bob, where can everybody find us?
All sorts of places like YouTube. Like if you want to know updates of when we're going live again, just keep an eye on the Planner Wire Facebook page, the Event Planner News Planner Facebook page, or there's that other place, Keith, that you like to go?
The bullet-list.com. Hi, gents.
Thank you very much for taking part, Stuart. You're our regular reporter, venue
Man
reporter.
on the street.
Thank you.